Hey guys, and welcome back to another flashlight review. And it's been a while since I've reviewed a Convoy flashlight, and in that time, there's been a few new releases lately, one of which has caught my attention. This one here, the Convoy M21J. And this one really reminds me of the Workhorse TD01, except it comes with the SBT90.2 emitter, produces twice the amount of light, and also has similar long range performance. And I saw on a bunch of forums people were asking Workhorse to put in the SPT 90.2 into their TD01. So I think this is really timely that Convoy have just released their version. So let's have a look at what you get in the box. Now you get the light itself, and the battery tube is pretty long. It's a 21700 battery tube, so it takes two of those cells. And you can see just underneath the head there, everything is very, very easy to disassemble. And even the top part as well, you can take out the top of the bezel and get into the LED. Now, depending on where you bought this light, it will come with a couple of batteries. Now, these are a couple of Moly cell batteries that I have. So the P42A high drain cells. And the M21J also comes with this little accessory in here. And basically, this just helps to bridge the two batteries. So if you've got essentially these flat top cells, sometimes they may not contact properly. So that just goes in between in the battery tube. But I found that just putting the flat top cells in there, they still contact fine. That's the box, really basic, and essentially that's all you get in it, which I quite like. It allows Convoy to keep those costs down to the end consumer. Size comparison here between the M21J with the Workhorse TD01. This is the C version with the buck driver, and also the Convoy M21B. Now the bezel is actually a little bit larger on the TD01C. It's a little bit larger. Okay, so I'd say the head is, fairly similar. The only difference is obviously the battery tube. You're having two 21700 cells in there, so it's going to be longer. That's your Convoy M21B, and yeah, I'll call this a traditional full-sized flashlight. Definitely not something that you want to be carrying around in your pocket unless you've got yourself a holster or something like that. Okay, so here's a little close-up of the M21J, and good quality machining as usual from Convoy. The anodizing as well is nice and smooth, and yeah, to me it looks pretty similar to the anodizing that I've seen on my M21B and other similar Convoy flashlights. And especially at this price point, I'd say the overall construction is absolutely fantastic. And some people do find Convoy designs a bit boring, but personally, I like the simplicity and the classic looks. The cutouts on the head here also help with heat dissipation, which you really need with the SBT 90.2. It's a power-hungry LED. You've got some grippy knurling as well here, which I like. Now, the M21J has a side switch and also a tail switch. And basically, you have to turn on the tail switch, click on the tail switch before the side switch will start working. So that's how basically you change the different modes. The side switch is the same one on my Convoy L8. It's a gray rubber switch. It's got a stainless steel ring there. And yeah, I like that the tail switch is also recessed, so you can stand it. Also a little area there to attach a lanyard as well. Looking underneath the head of the flashlight, you can see this stainless steel bezel, which is really going to add some extra durability to the light, especially if you drop it or if you use it to break a window, something like that. Head is 55 millimeters in diameter, so significantly more than the 28 millimeter diameter battery tube. So that's why I call this one. It's definitely more of a full-sized flashlight. And you've also got protective glass lens here on the front. So that's in front of that 3-degree TIR lens. And yeah, obviously the SBT 90.2 underneath. The M21J also comes with a regulated buck driver. So that's rated at a maximum 20.5 amps. And like I mentioned before, everything can be assembled very easily without any special tools. You can even take off that bezel there on the front. All right, so I'm going to go through the UI, and it's a pretty simple UI. Like I mentioned before, you press that tail switch, and it goes through that last mode that you've been using. So it does have memory mode. That the great thing is that it's also got a forward switch, so you can half press and get access to momentary modes. You can use this as a tactical flashlight as well. So that tail switch has to be on, or you can change the modes with the side switch. You just press, and there's 4 modes. So 1%, 10%, 35%, and 100%. There's also a strobe mode as well if you double press. And that's it. Okay, so I ran a couple of ceiling bounce tests with the Convoy M21J, and this is on 100%. You can see here, it starts out at 100%, then about a minute or so, it steps down to 50%, where it holds for the remainder of the test. You can see here, I've ended the test at 30. I like that it's got a very, decent step down. It doesn't go all the way down to 20% like some flashlights do. It does get pretty hot though at the end of that 30 minutes, though you can switch to some other lower modes if necessary. This is another ceiling bounce test that I ran on 35% mode, and you can see here it pretty much hovers between 90 and 100% output through the duration of this test. Here are some tests that I ran on my Opal Lightmaster Pro, and at the 100% mode, you can see 853 meters, which is really impressive. And the CRI was, lower on the 60 to 66 range. CCT 4,900 to 5,200. So yeah, definitely in that 5,000K mark. And I was impressed to see even on the 35% mode, you get 637 meters of throw. The Convoy M21J produces a large, intense hotspot with lots of spill. And it's great that it only steps down to 50% as well on the 100% mode. It's quite impressive sustained output. So some considerations to keep in mind before you get this light. Obviously, this is not a small light. It measures over 22 centimeters long. So it's not one that you can fit in your pocket. Got a jacket pocket, you might be able to get away with it. So you want to get a holster or just carry it around in your backpack. The second consideration is that there is no onboard charging with this light, so you'll have to invest in an external slot charger. And I think that's probably for the best, as there are risks of charging multiple cells at the same time inside a light, especially if they're at different voltages. It's just not a good idea. The third consideration is the UI. While I like the simplicity of this 4-mode plus strobe, UI, I don't really use strobe all that much. So it would have been good, I think, if Simon released a second model with that classic 12-mode grouping version of the light, 12-mode UI. That way I can just change, for example, if I just wanted this to go onto 100% all the time, I could just change the UI to that. But I do like that the light memorizes 100% mode, and you can basically just use that as a shortcut there to access that tactical 100% mode if you need it. I've mostly stayed away from multiple cell lights as I prioritize portability, but the Convoy M21J is just one of those lights I'd make an exception for, especially if I'm traveling or if I need to go out to the bush or something like that, something I can just chuck in my bag. And, you've got better heat sinking, extended run times as well on the lower modes due to the dual 21700 configuration. It's also paired with that high throw output of the SBT90.2. I think it makes a much more practical option for those who don't mind carrying around a full-sized flashlight. It thing reminds me of a mag light on steroids. So if you're interested in getting one, I have a special discount voucher in the video description. Go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions as well about the Convoy M21J, just let me know down below in the comments and I'll get back to you. If you like the video, do me a big favor and click the like button. It helps me to get this video out to more people. And if you want to keep up to date with the latest flashlight news and reviews, make sure you subscribe. Alrighty, Convoy M21J, and this is on the 1% mode, and even on 1%, look at that, it's getting to that bit of grass there in the center so easily. 10%, and I mean even 10%,
hitting the back of those trees with ease. And there's a little bit of ambient light here. The sun has just gone down about an hour ago. So, I mean, considering that, it's doing pretty well. 35% mode. And this is sustainable as well. Let's hold this output. And I just love how that hotspot is, I mean, just huge hotspot and tons of spill too. I mean, the spill is just going all into my peripherals, about 180 degree. I would say close to 180 degrees. And this is 100%. Incredible. I mean, this is like a searchlight, spotlight or something. And of course, you're gonna have lights like a SFT40 light or a Osram W1 or W2 light that will throw further in this same host, but it's not gonna produce anywhere near the amount of light that you get with the SBT90 in here. I'll go for a bit of a walk and you'll be able to see the beam profile a bit better. So 0.1, 10%, 35%. And 100%. Jeez. Incredible. I mean, look at the spill. Looks pretty much like a straight line here on the ground. So yeah, 180 degree spill. But on the lower modes, yeah, you don't get a whole lot of spill, probably about 35% onwards, because it is a 6-degree TIR lens. But just, you know, from the sheer fact that you've got that SBT90.2 in there, it just produces so much light that you get all this incidental spill anyway. It's a great night to have this light on me actually, because it's really cold. I think it's about 5 degrees. For me anyway, that's cold. And it does step down after a bit, but you can reactivate. Okay, 3, 4. And here's another thing, you know, you can have the light on 100% and then just press the tactical switch on the back, so the momentary forward switch, and I mean, look at that. Fantastic.